Good afternoon. It is Friday, and it's Friday the 17th of December, and I have been doing reading of audio of books in the last year and a half, and they've all been uploaded on my BitChute, and I have enjoyed them very much. Life in the World Unseen and The Only Planet of Choice, and I've also translated them into German, which was great fun. My idea of fun anyway. And I was thinking the other day, what can I read now? Because I don't want to just read a book, aloud, for the sake of it. That's not really the point. Anyway, I started to write myself, or I have written quite a lot, in 2006. So that's 15 years ago. And it was on a business trip. I had a lot of time to myself, and in this tiny dingy hotel room in Moscow. Anyway, I had my laptop with me, and I started to type, which I just called my story. So I'm going to just read it aloud now. It still needs work, but you know, it's been so long that I haven't published it yet or anything. So I'm going to do an audio before it's ever even published, if it is ever going to be published. The title, Book 1, Bliss, Afterlife, Chapter 1, Blissful Departure. Happiness. It is the art of living, the purpose of our existence. Happiness is the true index of quality of life. Without happiness, life is dry and meaningless. With happiness, life immediately becomes fulfilling and wonderful. Happiness is an infectious feeling that immediately lifts the sagging spirits of people. Happy people keep themselves happy because they know the little ways to appreciate themselves and to see the humor and magic in each moment. Chapter 1, Blissful Departure. Whoosh! What happened just now? I had been sitting quietly in my rocking chair. Yes, indeed, I possess an old-fashioned rocking chair, a creaking old, rather rickety thing, which has been the object of great hilarity in the family. I had sat down to rest after my 95th birthday party. Everybody had gone. The girls, how can I still call them girls? Holly is 58 and Susan is 59. They had tidied away everything, and I had put my usual candles around the room to have a quiet meditation and enjoy the peace after a wonderful but busy day celebrating my achievement, 95 years. I was proud of myself. All my grandparents only made it into their 60s, and although my mother reached the ripe old age of 82, my dad died with 68. How long ago this all seems. I had been having headaches over the last few weeks, on and off. I always enjoyed good health, so this had worried me a bit, but I had forgotten about it. I just remembered I'd had a bad pain when I dropped off to sleep. The pain had gone completely, and I felt utterly weightless. I feel as if I'm being drawn up and up. A floating sensation, but really fast, strange sensations. How odd. I am no longer in my room. Suddenly I'm bathed in a very bright light. It's all around me, and I have an impression of a vastness around me which seems completely limitless. I have this strong sense of déjà vu. I suddenly know for sure that I have left my body, I think, for good. Ergo, I must have died. Gosh, that's a big thing. 95 was a long time. I suppose I had got used to it. What am I thinking, used to it? I'm very confused. I have been thinking about death quite a bit during my life, more so the last few years. I have been thinking about how it would be, and my husband, he had left his body 5 years ago. That was a difficult time. We had been together for almost 60 years, but I was brave, as they have said. They all said that. Actually, I did enjoy the last few years very much, but there was not a day that I did not spend thinking about him. I'm trying to describe to myself what I feel, something I always do. I suppose this does not finish then, in death. What a funny phrase. Isn't something supposed to happen now? I feel in a complete state of nothingness. A good feeling, totally complete. Actually, I had not realized that my body had become such a burden over the last years. It happened so gradually that I guess I got used to it. Now I feel as if I had very tight shoes on and they had been taken off and my feet are immersed in a warm bubble bath. Ah, the weightlessness is wonderful. In fact, I do feel wonderful. There's this feeling of utter rightness about it all. Everything seems timeless and I seem to be in a state of floating for a long time. Suddenly, I have a sensation of a presence and in front of me is a figure. Oh, I know him. It's my Uncle Peter. Gosh, he looks so young. Although the strange thing is that even though I can see him, it is more of a light bluish and bright. And I know it's him, but it's more like a vision. He's smiling at me and I feel so happy now. How marvelous. It's true. You do meet again. I could laugh for joy. In fact, I do. I laugh like mad, and so does he. We embrace, or so it feels. There you are. You were a long time. Did I hear this? I don't have ears. This makes me laugh again. How do you hear without ears? What's so funny? How do I hear without ears? We're both laughing even harder. If you want someone to hear you, just direct your thoughts. You don't need ears here. You don't need anything. What, no roast beef and Yorkshire puddings then? What's that? I forgot. Peter is German, so that would not be one of his favourite dinners in his last existence. Well, we are all communicating very well somehow. I have to think and he can hear, as long as I seem to think at him. Even though we don't actually physically embrace, it felt like it when we greeted each other. He nods and he smiles again, saying welcome home. Chapter 2. Holly. Holly had been in a rush ever since she got up at 6:30 this morning. She managed to have a 10-minute quiet relaxation after she had had her shower, but since then she had hardly any time to think. It was so busy at the centre and she spent most of the morning catching up with administrative work. She was an experienced music therapist in a small private school in Dorset. She loved her work, always had done, but she hated the paperwork. Finally, she breathed a sigh of relief. She had completed all reports detailing the progress of her present 15 pupils, or clients as the preferred term was. Joey was really coming along nicely. He was here once a week, but the work they had done showed real improvement in his behavior. She loved the new practice she had learned only recently, Tibetan bells. Joe really enjoyed the deep vibrating sounds of the bells when she asked him to lie down, relax and close his eyes, while she rang the bells along his whole body. He was a very traumatized little boy, and after all the different sessions they had had, he seemed to respond to this one extremely well. Anyway, it was 5 p.m. and she had promised herself to look in on Mum on her way home. It was quite a party yesterday and she had looked very tired at the end of it. In fact, she had looked tired a lot lately. Unusual for Mumsy, who could never get quite enough of life. She locked her small office and set off to the lovely flat her mother had bought years ago overlooking the sea. She looked forward to a cup of tea and a chat. There were a lot of people who popped in yesterday, apart from the invited guests, and there was bound to be a bit of gossip. She locked her car. It was almost 6 o'clock. Where does the time go? She won't have much time if she wanted to cook a nice dinner for herself, Chris and Tony, her 25-year-old son. He had promised to come by. The prospect of a nice home-cooked dinner always seemed to do the trick in making him come over on a regular basis. Not fair thinking, Holly. He comes over because he wants to. She chided herself. Her mum's flat was on the 2nd floor. Mum always thought it was funny that she ended up in a flat. She had always lived in houses since she left her home in Germany. It had to be a garden and a nice upstairs. But when Dad died, she decided that a sea view and no digging was preferable. Holly had a key and let herself into the flat. All lights were on, but it was very quiet. Chapter 3. Bliss discovers her new surroundings. He had said, "Well, come home, how right that felt. But I do feel a little disorientated. I know that I know this place really well, and in fact I'm not surprised at all, really. Even when I was alive, did I believe that death was not the final end? I just can't remember quite. Even that feeling is utterly familiar. So I shall just relax and let myself pulled by my guide, or should I say, my uncle. Oh yes, guide. That is of course what he is here. I smile to myself. In fact, I'm realizing I've had a metaphorical grin on my face ever since I saw him. How was it? I had to think for a little while. I know he meant my last life, and I wanted to answer truthfully. Wonderful, really. Oh, I worried too much again. Gosh, when am I going to learn in the first half of my life that I'm quite trustworthy? I was a bit controlling again. Blast. I thought I had that licked a few times ago. But I had really a fulfilled life. Lovely family. I was blessed, really. I'm glad for my wise choices. It was a break, really, although I did not realize it until well into my second half. Well, you will have plenty of time to study, I suppose, he said. Oh yes, I'm looking forward to it. I finally accepted the existence of karma in my 40s and tried to live by it as much as I could. I was only human. We both giggled at that. I well remember how my uncle messed up quite a bit in his last life. There was the other woman, and he could never resist using his outside appearance to his fullest advantage. He'd always been a good-looking man. Yes, I know. I've had quite a while to examine it, don't you worry. And vanity, insecurity always seems to get me. Anyhow, I'm still resting at the moment. I'm guiding a lot, though. Yes, I remember. I love that. Looking forward to guiding again. So much easier if you know it all. Yes, I was indeed starting to remember gradually. I looked around and saw now suddenly familiar, wonderful streams of light bubbles. It is so utterly immense here. I remember feeling this kind of vastness in my physical existence only high up on an airplane. Although, of course, this is totally different. I travelled a lot in my last life. In fact, I had only stopped taking long trips when my husband found it too difficult 7 or so years ago. It's strange to think of years. I know now that as soon as I come back to this place, time becomes meaningless. We are both suddenly pulled up in a gentle stream and float on. We're getting closer to the stream of course, bubbles. These are colourful souls, so many. Suddenly I travel along. Oh, what a warm sense of greeting. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I feel the goodwill. They know I've only just come back. I have a feeling of anticipation. I know something nice is ahead of me. What is it? So I will stop this first reading of this story of mine, Bliss Afterlife, now. And I continue with chapter 4, which is entitled Susan. Bye-bye.